Welcome back to Turtles Hot Rods for what I'm hoping is the last video in the build series for this motorcycle. Today, we get to do some body work, some paint, some final assembly, and at the end of the video, I should have a completed, fully restored 1978 Suzuki Gs750. Let's get to work. First thing that we need to do is body work, and I made this piece here out of fiberglass. I have a video showing how I did that, and I needed body work because it's pretty rough. If I painted this, it would look like absolute crap. So I have two different kinds of body filler. I got both of them at Harbor Freight. This one was 20 bucks, but I got it on sale, so it was 13, and then this one was 11. So this is what we're going to be using, just the cheap stuff, right? It is a budget build, but my opinion, the cheap stuff does not matter as long as you prep it and apply it and do it correctly. You'll get just as good of a finished product as if you use the really expensive stuff. So I got short strain reinforced fiberglass filler here, and I'm going to use that to fill in holes or fill in large dents or big low places. And I'm also going to use that as the foundation for this piece because it's fiberglass. So I want to put this on here so that it won't shrink at all, because if I put a lot of this, it may shrink a little bit, but this stuff doesn't shrink. I've used it in the past. I really like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sander there with 80 grit, and I'm going to sand and scuff over the entire piece, and then I'm going to take a piece of 80 grit and I'm going to scuff by hand down in these low places where the sander won't get, and then I'm going to take a piece of Scotch-Brite and go over the whole thing and then blow it off really good with some high pressure air from my air compressor. And then I'm going to mix up some mud and start applying it. You can see I also have the top of the fork piece, and I modified it heavily. There was two mount points here for the original handlebars. There were some ears here that held the speedometer on. I did that last video if you missed it. And I went ahead, put it in my bead blaster, and just bead blasted all up in the backside, all around every corner of it, so that my body filler will stick to it really, really good. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this fiberglass reinforced stuff, mix it up, and I'm going to shove it down in these cavities here, here, there, and here, and until it squeezes through these holes. And I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to sand it off at the top, and then put another coat along the top, and then we'll do the rest with regular body filler. But that should make a very strong fix that won't shrink on these holes here, because this is cast aluminum, so I can't weld it, and I think that'll do just fine. You about to learn you something. See all these little dots? That's bad, okay? So if you look, you find a spot where it's doing it, in the reflection, right around in here. Just look there. See all them little pimple looking things in the reflection right in here? That is caused by that. And what that is moisture that got under or in the primer or the base coat when it was sprayed originally in 1978. So somehow either this tank was a little bit wet, it was super duper humid, or there was moisture in the air lines whenever they were spraying it, and moisture got in there, enough of it to cause bubbles. And anywhere I see these bubbles, I have to sand it all the way down to bare metal. So I'm about to have to strip this whole tank. So I've tried a grinder, I've tried 80 grit, it ain't getting it done quick enough. So I'm gonna take a razor blade on a little homemade scraper that I made here, and I'm gonna try this. I don't really have a good razor blade scraper here, I don't think. But I'm gonna try to do this, and I'm gonna scrape most of the paint off that I can, and then I'm gonna strip it all the way down to bare metal, and then we'll body work it and build it back up. Over here, I kind of dented this up a little bit because both of these screws had stripped out, and I drilled them and then had to pry this piece away from the tank. I think it's welded at either end, spot welded, and maybe in the middle. But I was able to pry it open here and pull out the chunks of metal from the screw left over that I drilled out. But the threads in the hole are still in pretty good shape. Kind of hard to see. So I should just be able to put a new screw back in there. Anyway, I'm gonna get to stripping and get this tank down to bare metal. That was a lot of work. Wasn't too bad, but found out got some damage on this side. It had been, I don't know if it had been wrecked or if somebody backed into it or something, but the tank had a major gash in it at one point. Somebody drilled holes in it and then pulled a slide hammer to pull the dent out most of the way, and then filled it back in with brass, and then filled the rest of it in with body filler. And I dug it all out because I'm gonna go back with some fiberglass reinforced stuff, which should be stronger than the regular body filler that was in there. And you know, it probably would have been okay to leave it in there because it's been in there for who knows how long, but I'm going to strip the whole thing. I might as well take that out too. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to mix up some more fiberglass filler. And I've got a small dent here from whenever I wrecked it on accident. I've got a large dent here and then a smaller dent here that were already in it. I'm going to fill all three of these. Just go over them with that fiberglass stuff. We'll sand it down with a DA. And then I'll come back with regular Bondo and then we'll hit that with a block. I'm going to fill these holes in with fiberglass filler. Like I said, so it doesn't shrink. And, you know, come on this side. Just give it a good wipe. Fiberglass stuff. Be good to go. So I'm going to start body working the tank. And just kind of going to be cycling through the tank and the other couple of pieces that need body work on this until everything is ready to prime. And then we're going to get it all primed. doing a little bit of odds and ends, finishing up. I'm gonna go ahead and paint the hand controls. I have scuffed them. I can order brand new stickers online, and I can't really peel these off with my finger, like, at all. I've tried, they just crumple and tear up. So I'm gonna paint over them and hope that I can just stick new stickers on top of them and it'll be fine. So new sticker sheet for both hand controls is like $18. So I'm just gonna paint these black. I covered up all my buttons. Took this one off, and I'm gonna paint the kill switch button back red. It originally was orange, but I think it'd look better red. So I'm gonna do that. Then I'm gonna bead blast the rear controls. As you can see, they're pretty rusty. So I'm gonna bead blast them all clean and then put some silver paint on those guys. And we're gonna put some header tape on the exhaust. Let's go. In this pot, we have rubbers. And in this pot, we have peas. We got them hot and good and squishy. It's going on. It's working. It's twisting as I'm pushing, and it's going on. I'm up there. There it is. And it took all my paint off. Crap. There we go. Well, it's been a few days. I've been doing some work. Did a bunch of wiring work last night. Just cleaning up and tidying up some of the wiring on this thing. And going through, I got all of my switches and everything hooked up and working. I got my new grips on there, as you can see. They look good. Got the starter button back working. The solder broke on the kill switch, and that was causing the starter button not to work, so I had to solder that back together and fix that. I got the wiring for the ignition system all hooked back up. I have my electronic ignition module in there. You see my points are laying on the ground. So it's got electronic ignition now. And hopefully I won't blow up any more coils, but it was still getting my coils hot with the key just sitting on. So maybe, you know, maybe it's supposed to do that. I don't know. I'm gonna try to leave the key off, but I changed it out from points just because, you know, I think electronic ignition is less likely to blow up your coils. And that's the last thing I need to do if I'm 100 miles from home on a cruise or something. Anyway, got that hooked up. I timed it with doing static timing, and I've got it set. But I won't know if it's perfect or good until we run the bike, and I ain't doing that today. So what I am doing today is I'm gonna sand some stuff. And after I sand some stuff and get it ready to paint, I'm going to get this exhaust wrapped up in header wrap all the way from the beginning to about right here. And then we're going to get the exhaust put back on the bike. And that'll probably be all I get to do today. But I primed everything with urethane-based 2K primer. This is standard automotive primer. And to fill in all the scratches and stuff, I went over everything with 180 grit before I primed it. So there shouldn't be any real deep scratches in it. But now I'm going to take and sand everything with 320. And then I'm going to wet sand everything with 500. Well, folks, the time has come to spray some color. I have spent all morning getting everything ready. It's been a lot of work. It's been quite a lot of body work. A couple of weeks. Just working on it a couple hours a day. On the weekends as well. And we're finally ready to spray. I just blew everything off. I'm about to wipe it down with some wax and grease remover, give it a final tack rag, and then I'm going to start spraying some sealer. We're going to spray brown first. Same color brown we did on the wheels and the rotors and sprocket. Spray brown on everything first, and then I will take and run pinstripe tape on this piece, the tank, these two triangular pieces, and that's it. I'll pinstripe everything, and then we'll spray yellow. And then I'll pull the tape out and we'll spray clear. I'm going to do two coats of base. I'm going to do 1 coat of sealer, 2 coats of base of each color, and then 2 coats of clear. And once that's done, I'm going to let it dry for at least 24 hours, maybe 2 days. And I'll come back, and everything that has pinstriping in it will get sanded with 1500 grit sandpaper in the clear coat, and then I'll re-clear it. And what that's going to do is get rid of our lines that we were going to have from the different layers of paint. Well, it has been a couple of days since I painted everything. It's all dry and looking good. Clear coat has shrunk down a little bit, as you can tell. If you look at the stripes, you can really see the different thickness, and you can really feel it with your finger. I mean, and my fingernail is catching it every line. So I knew that was going to happen, so I bought some 1500 grit sandpaper, and I have a little squirt bottle with some water in it that I put about 1 or 2 drops of Dawn soap in, and then shook it up. And what I've been doing is I've been using my variety of sanding blocks. I currently have my semi-stiff sanding block, and I'm just block sanding the clear coat. Now, I wasn't going to do the fender because it doesn't have stripes on it, but I had a bug get in it, and there was a messed up spot in the clear where it wasn't like an even sheen. And so I went ahead and did it, and you can see, like, shiny, not shiny. So, I mean, it still is a little shiny just because that's 1500 grit paper. But if I wanted to, I could buff this up. But because I'm going to re-clear everything else, I'm just going to clear over the fender one more time, and that'll be good to go. All right, well, I am done doing my wet sanding. As far as I can tell, it's pretty close. The lines are still there, and that's okay. But they are much, much, much less pronounced than they were. And in some places, I've sanded them completely out. So, talked to my buddy, has done this a lot more than I have, and he said you don't have to get them all the way out. You just have to take them down about halfway and then just put on a good coat of clear and you'll be fine. So we'll do 2 coats for sure, and we may even do a 3rd. And if after that it still isn't like I want it, guess what? I'll sand it and do it again. Alright, so I mentioned I had some decals to go on these battery cover panels. And this is what we got going on. Some custom made Gs750 decals. They're just cut vinyl. So I have the red, the black shadow, silver shadow, and then the black. So I have to layer them out, and I'm going to use water with a teensy weensy little bit of soap in a spritz bottle and just spray it on there. Get this nice and really good and wet. Then pull the backing off of each sticker, get it nice and good and wet. Put it on there, get it where I want it, squeegee all the water out from under it, and then pull the sticker off. So I'm just gonna time lapse this. It's really simple. I did the first one. That's how it turned out, like first try. The water lets you move the decal around just a little bit. Otherwise it would stick and stay stuck, and you can't really get it centered. So here we go. So I said I had something special in store for the gas cap, and I'm actually going to pinstripe a turtle on it. Alright, I got everything set back up. Everything is about ready for the second round of clear coat. The gas cap and these triangular pieces up here, I'm expecting to probably need a 3rd round of clear coat. And I might do that tomorrow. Today's Friday, so it is a little windy right now. It's kind of got me a little bit worried. You can see stuff out there just kind of moving around. That means dirt and bugs are going to be coming up in here. Which I don't really like the idea of, but I can't help it, and I got to get it done. So I've scuffed everything with some gray Scotch-Brite. I'm about to wipe everything down, give it a quick tack rag, and we're going to start spraying. Well. It looks real good, and I'm not happy with it. So, first coat of clear over my decals. My finger is still catching on things, you know, on the decals and whatnot. So, that makes sense. I can barely feel the stripes on pretty much everything. But you can still see in the light. See how it goes from consistent to blah, 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 blah. So we got to get that straightened out. And a freaking bug got in my fender. Look at that nonsense. I was hoping to be done with the front fender, but a bug got in it. Mr. Turtle, he's looking pretty snazzy. But, you know, I can kind of feel it. So why not? It'll take 2 seconds to sand it and re-clear it. Same deal with the tank. Everything's looking good, but then you get into the stripe and it goes blah, blah, blah. So, what I'm going to do now... Also, I ran the absolute dog pee out of this thing in some places. I have already cut off some runs down here with a razor blade. But I'm going to turn the fluid down for the last couple of coats of clear. I had it thick because I was trying to fill up my stripes, and I guess I had it too thick or too close, or I was moving too slow. So I may leave everything the same and just move my gun a little bit quicker. So, I've spent the last couple hours painting the things on the back sides and the insides. And oh look, our first piece of yellow on the bike. I love the shape of that fender. So, you can see basically what I've done is I painted the back side of my 750 here, just so that when it's installed on the bike, if you look up at this angle where you can now see through the bike, you'll just see black. Same kind of an idea here. Ran some fine line tape around there. I'll peel this in a few minutes, and it's not going to be all yellow under here. It will transition to black with a line, but there will be yellow around the edges, so whenever you're looking at it from the top, it doesn't look bad. And then I also blacked in the inside in there, just to try to hide a bunch of stuff. This is going to be a little storage compartment, and wires will be routed in there, but I think that'll help it look a little bit nicer. As well as I blacked in the underside of the tank, just because that would look better than a bunch of yellow overspray. So the next thing I'm going to do is finish the exhaust header wrap, and I'm going to spritz some silver exhaust paint on that, and then that will go on the bike, and we'll move on to the next thing. Alright, I'm gonna fire it up. I'm feeding it off a bottle. I don't have a tank hooked up. I just got a bottle with a little bit of gasoline in it. I just ran it for just a second. It's gonna be a lot of smoke and stuff from all the paint, from the exhaust and the new header wrap and the paint on the motor. Not worried about that. I just want to run the minute and see how it sounds and feels with the air filters and the jet changes on the carburetor. I have not hooked up a speedometer cable. I need to do that. This little deal here I got off of Amazon uses a sensor and magnets, and you put the magnets on the wheel or on the brake rotor, and I'm hoping I can just glue the magnets onto the brake rotor and mount the sensor off of one of these bolts down here or off of that bolt there, bolt hole. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. And I made my little deal here. I love how that came out. Very happy with that. This little plate, it actually mounts exactly where the gas cap cover originally mounted. This is my new ignition I'm gonna be using, just simple on-off ignition. It doesn't have a lock or anything. And then I have a warning light that I have rigged up to the oil pressure sensor. So the oil pressure sensor works as a ground switch. So when the bike is off or you have no oil pressure, the ground is connected, and then whenever you get oil pressure, it disconnects. So you just run 12 volt power to this, and then that oil pressure sensor wire to this, and whenever you crank the bike, that'll turn off unless you don't have oil pressure. So if I ever am riding it and I look down and I see that light is on, I know, uh-oh, no oil pressure, cut it off, and hopefully you haven't heard anything if you catch it in time. Anyway, got to do an oil change, a few other little odds and ends before we're really ready to hit the road. But it's starting to look pretty good. So I've got my tail section here. I've got my tail light. This is a factory style tail light for a 59 Cadillac. And I'm a big fan of these tail lights. I got one on eBay that has LEDs built into it, so you'll never have to change the bulb. And because of that, I'm literally going to just glue it into the housing. So super bright LEDs, never have to change it. If you do, yikes. Don't want to have to do that. Because I'm about to epoxy this thing in. I have scuffed and sanded the back side of that, and I scuffed and sanded down in there. And I've got some JB Weld epoxy that I'm going to use. This plastic weld, 5-minute quick setting epoxy. I'm just going to mix it up and smear it all over the back side of the light. Probably put some down in there on the housing. I want to get as much of a bond as I can. Again, I'm banking on the fact I'll never have to change this tail light. Doesn't seem like a whole lot, but that right there is a good feeling. Look at that panel. Sorry about the wind noise. It's 90 million degrees. This has been a long project. You know, almost 6 months now. Basically a full restoration. I didn't rebuild the motor, but went through pretty much everything else. I'm very close and very excited and nervous and ready to cruise this thing down the highway. What's up, buddy? What you doing? Huh? What do you think? I got the tank on it. He just wants to get in the air conditioning. All right, next day, the epoxy for the taillight is done. Everything works. Just tested it. I did the wiring for my turn signals. Really happy with how that came out. I got this plug here is for turn signals. This plug here is for the tail light. Everything's packaged nice and neat. Once I get done making the seat, I'll take some hot glue and I'll glue down these wires just out of the way, kind of tuck them out of the way, because this little area in here is a storage compartment. You could fit a pair of gloves or maybe a couple little tools or spare part or two, maybe a tire patch kit. Probably definitely put something like that in there. But anyway, this is the only storage on the bike, so I want it to be nice and neat inside of there. And if you've been wondering what I'm doing with the seat, I'm going to make a seat pad, and it'll be Velcroed in. So to get it out, you'll just kind of push on it on one side or pull a little tab. I don't really know how I'm going to do that yet, but cut a piece of my material here. Got this stuff off of Amazon. It's just pleather with pleated diamonds on it. And I got a very large piece. I think it's 1 square yard. And that's what I'm gonna do the seat out of as well. It's, on camera, it looks like a darker brown than it actually is. It's a little bit more red. You can see the actual color. That's more like what it looks like in real life. It's just kind of a reddish color, reddish brown. I really like it. It's quite nice. But anyway, just gonna use some contact cement and some staples from a staple gun, and I'm just gonna put some glue on this side, put some glue on this, put it down on there, and hit it with a mallet or the back of my hand to push it down, and then fold the edges over and cut and trim and staple them down and glue them down until I get something that will fit in and out of here. Hopefully I've got enough room around the edges for it to actually fit. It might be really snug going in and out, but we'll see. Okay, I cut a piece of material. I layered up my foam 4 pieces thick, so it's just 1/4 inch foam. I actually got it for free. It was a big old piece, and I think it came in like some shipping material or something. But I've actually been using it for a couple of weeks now because I wanted to see if it was going to degrade. So it's been wet. It's sat outside for weeks. I've wet sanded stuff on it. You know, I've worked on it, and it hasn't really worn down or degraded, and it's very squishy, so it doesn't seem to be affected by being outdoors. So I layered it up. It's pretty dense. I mean, I'm pushing pretty hard on it. I didn't want it to be super soft and squishy. I wanted more of a dense seat because I wanted it to be low profile, but still have some give to it. So what I'm going to try to do is start at the back and make the back look good. The front, I'm gonna have to fold under and cut and tuck and roll something. But the back is what I'm really worried about, because your eyes are going to be drawn back here because of the paint. And I'm hoping that I can just take this and kind of fold it up under there like that, and fold this in there like that, and then tuck it down something like that and under. So I need to put some glue on everything, let it tack up, and then I'm just going to start pushing and folding and hoping everything turns out all right. And then I'm going to do the very back edge first, and then I'll trim the front off, and then I'll fold it up, glue everything on the bottom, and then lay it over, and then we'll wrap it up underneath and add some staples once we're finished. This piece is done. I like the way it turned out. Looks a little rough whenever it's not in there, but it's a really tight fit. You push it in there really hard and it stays. And then I just took some extra material, doubled it over, glued it and stapled it, and you pull on this little tab here once it's inside of there to pull it out. So really tight fit. It seals good. I'm gonna try to do this. and Turtles Hot Rods. Let me introduce you to a new project of mine. This is my 1978 Suzuki Gs750. It probably hasn't ran in 20 years or close to it. I bought it for cheap. Let me show you this thing. Well, after 6 months, it's finished. Kinda. I still have to fine-tune the carburetors a little bit. You may have noticed the tape on the pod filters. What that does is it restricts the airflow to make the carburetors run a little bit richer. I'm waiting on some jet kits. They'll be here in a day or two, and I'll get this thing tuned up, and you'll see me riding it. You would not think that this was the same bike that I brought home 6 months ago. And the crazy part is because I made majority of the stuff by myself and I used what I had laying around or what I could get for free. Because of all that, I have spent around $2,000. Now, I haven't added up every last penny, but my best guess is about $2,100. So this just goes to show you that if you're smart with how you spend your money, and you're not afraid to try to build something, and you have some tools, you can build whatever you want. Thank you guys for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe because there's more coming on this bike, and I'll see you next time.